Commander Zethkar stared at the holographic display with growing confusion. The energy readings made no sense at all. His four eyes blinked rapidly as he checked the scanner calibrations for the third time in 10 minutes. The numbers remained the same and they were impossible. Deep in the Kepler 442 system, the most advanced monitoring station of the Galactic Council tracked every movement across 17 star systems. For over 200 years, this station had watched the primitive species called humans crawl slowly through space in their crude metal ships. The Terrans barely managed faster-than-light travel, and their weapons were laughably weak compared to Council technology. But the signature approaching their sensors now changed everything Zethkar thought he knew about human capabilities. "Run the scan again," he ordered his subordinate, a young Vorthak officer named Kilmore. "There must be an error in our systems." Kilmore's clawed fingers danced across the control panel. His orange scales rippled with nervous energy as the results appeared on screen. "Commander, the readings are identical. The approaching vessel shows a power output of 740,000 energy units." Zethkar felt his blood run cold. A standard human ship barely registered 50,000 units. Even their largest military vessels never exceeded 100,000. The signature they were tracking matched that of a Council dreadnought, the most powerful warships in the known galaxy. "Identify the vessel classification," Zethkar commanded. "Cross-reference with all known Terran ship designs." The station's computer analyzed the approaching craft for several minutes. When the results appeared, they made the situation even more confusing. The ship's basic structure matched human design principles, but its size and energy output were completely unprecedented. "Classification unknown," the computer announced in its mechanical voice. "Vessel architecture suggests Terran origin, but power readings exceed all documented human capabilities by a factor of 7.4. Across the bridge, Science Officer Velthera looked up from her station. Her blue-scaled face showed deep concern. "Commander, I've been monitoring human space for 15 years. They don't have ships like this. Their technology is at least 50 years behind ours." Zethkar had served on this monitoring station for nearly 3 decades. He had watched human expansion with the same casual interest he might show for watching insects build colonies. Humans were useful for their raw materials and potential slave labor, but they posed no military threat to the Council. Their ships were slow, their weapons were primitive, and their technology was limited. The vessel approaching their sensors shattered every assumption about human capabilities. "Pull up the intelligence files on human military development," Zethkar ordered. "I want everything we have on their shipbuilding capabilities." The holographic display filled with data collected over decades of observation. Human ships used chemical and nuclear propulsion systems. Their weapons relied on kinetic projectiles and simple energy beams. Their largest military vessels carried crews of less than 500 and could barely defend their home system. None of this matched what their sensors were detecting. "Commander," Kilmore said quietly, "the vessel just changed course. It's heading directly for the Vorthak patrol fleet in Sector 7. Zethkar's hearts began beating faster. War Chieftain Krexthor commanded 6 ships in that sector, conducting routine intimidation patrols near human space. If this mysterious vessel was heading toward them, it could mean only one thing. The humans were finally making their move. But that was impossible. Human space was surrounded by Council monitoring stations and patrol fleets. Every major human world was under constant observation. Their military leaders were identified and tracked. Their shipyards were mapped and monitored. If humans were building advanced warships, the Council would know about it, unless they had been hiding their true capabilities all along. "Send an immediate priority message to War Chieftain Krexthor," Zethkar ordered. "Inform him that an unknown human vessel of significant power is approaching his position. Tell him to proceed with extreme caution." As Kilmore transmitted the warning, Zethkar studied the energy readings again. The numbers seemed to pulse with impossible promise. 740,000. Energy units represented more power than many Council worlds possessed in their entire defense fleets. If humans had somehow developed technology this advanced without Council knowledge, everything was about to change. "Sir," Velthara reported, "I'm detecting additional energy signatures from the human vessel. It appears to be charging weapon systems." Zethkar felt fear creep up his spine. Council doctrine stated that humans were incapable of threatening Council ships. Every strategic plan for eventual human conquest assumed overwhelming technological superiority. If that assumption was wrong, thousands of Council vessels throughout the galaxy might be in serious danger. "What type of weapons are we detecting?" he asked. Velthara's fingers moved rapidly across her console. "Unknown configuration. The energy patterns don't match any weapons in our database. Whatever they are, they're drawing enormous amounts of power from the ship's reactor." The situation was becoming more impossible by the minute. Unknown human ship, unprecedented power output, unidentified weapon systems. Either their sensors were completely malfunctioning, or humans had achieved a technological breakthrough that made them a legitimate threat to Council supremacy. "Commander," Kilmore announced, "War Chieftain Krexthor acknowledges our warning. He's moving his fleet to intercept the human vessel." Zethkar hoped Krexthor understood the seriousness of the situation. The War Chieftain was an experienced commander, but he was also arrogant and overconfident. He had spent decades bullying human cargo ships and intimidating human colonies. The idea that humans might actually pose a threat to his fleet would seem ridiculous to him. "Monitor all communication channels," Zethkar ordered. "Record everything. If this human ship is as advanced as our sensors suggest, we need to document every detail of the encounter." The mysterious vessel continued its approach toward the Vorthak patrol fleet. Its energy signature remained steady at impossible levels, suggesting that whatever power source it used was both stable and incredibly advanced. If humans had somehow developed fusion technology beyond Council capabilities, it would explain the unprecedented power readings. But humans weren't supposed to understand advanced fusion physics. Their best scientists barely comprehended the basic principles that powered Council ships. The idea that they could surpass Council technology seemed completely impossible. Yet their sensors didn't lie. "Distance to intercept?" Zethkar asked. "The human vessel will reach War Chieftain Krexthor's position in approximately 1 hour, Kilmore replied. "At current speed, the encounter will take place near the 4th planet of the system. 1 hour until first contact between this mysterious human ship and a Council patrol fleet. 1 hour until they learned whether humans had truly achieved the impossible, or whether their sensors were playing tricks on them." Zethkar settled back in his command chair and prepared to witness history in the making. War Chieftain Krexthor laughed when he received the warning message from the monitoring station. His deep voice echoed through the bridge of his flagship as he read the report about an approaching human vessel with impossible power readings. "These monitoring crews need better training," he told his tactical officer, Sub-Commander Yithnal. "Their sensors must be malfunctioning if they think humans can build ships that match our dreadnoughts." Yithnal nodded in agreement. His green scales showed the confident glow that all Vorthak warriors displayed before an easy battle. "Shall I order the fleet to battle stations, War Chieftain? It might be amusing to see what these primitive humans consider a warship." Krexthor waved a dismissive hand. 6 ships under his command faced a single human vessel. The odds were so overwhelmingly in their favor that calling it a battle would be an insult to real warfare. "Signal the fleet to maintain standard patrol formation. When the humans see our superior numbers, they will surrender immediately." The War Chieftain had spent the last 5 years patrolling the edges of human space. He had encountered dozens of their ships and found them all laughably weak. Human vessels fled at the first sight of Council warships. Their captains begged for mercy and offered tribute to avoid destruction. The idea that humans might actually fight back had never seriously occurred to him. "Human vessel approaching on our port side," reported Navigation Officer Kethvar from his station. "Distance 12,000 kilometers and closing." Krexthor moved to the main viewing screen. Human ships were usually small and clumsy-looking, built more like cargo haulers than military vessels. He expected to see another pathetic example of human engineering. That would make him wonder how such a weak species had managed to achieve space travel at all. What he saw instead made him stop breathing. The human ship was massive. Its hull stretched nearly 800 meters from bow to stern, rivaling the size of Council heavy cruisers. Strange energy patterns danced across its surface, creating shifting displays of blue and white light. The vessel moved with smooth precision that suggested advanced maneuvering systems far beyond typical human capabilities. "What is that thing?" Yithnal whispered. Before Krexthor could answer, the communication system activated. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking in clear galactic standard language. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Federation battleship Liberty. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system or face the consequences. Silence fell across the Vorthak bridge. No human had ever spoken to Council forces with such authority. The audacity of threatening 6 warships with a single vessel seemed beyond belief, even for the occasionally surprising humans. Krexthor felt his warrior pride burning in his chest. How dare these primitive creatures threaten him? Open communications, he ordered. Captain Morrison's face appeared on the viewing screen. He looked young for a human military commander, with short brown hair and steady blue eyes that showed no fear whatsoever. Behind him, the bridge of his ship bustled with activity as crew members worked at stations filled with technology that looked far more advanced than anything humans were supposed to possess. "I am War Chieftain Krexthor of the Vorthak Empire," he announced. "You will surrender your vessel immediately or be destroyed. You are outnumbered 6-1 and completely outgunned." Morrison smiled, and the expression sent an unexpected chill down Krexthor's spine. "War Chieftain, you have 25 seconds to begin your withdrawal. I suggest you don't waste time with empty threats." The human captain's calm confidence was unsettling. Either he was insane or he knew something that Krexthor didn't. Given the intelligence reports about this ship's impossible power readings, the second option seemed increasingly likely. "Sir," called out Weapons Officer Zaktul from across the bridge, "I'm reading some very unusual energy signatures from that human ship. Their reactor output is registering at levels I've never seen before." Krexthor kept his eyes on the human captain. "What kind of energy signatures?" "Unknown configuration," Zaktul replied nervously. "But the power levels are concerning." Morrison held up his hand and began counting down on his fingers. 15 seconds, War Chieftain, 14, 13. The countdown pushed Krexthor past his tolerance for human arrogance. No primitive species was going to dictate terms to a Vorthak battle fleet. All ships, power weapons, and prepare to fire. Show these humans what happens when they challenge the Council. The 6 Vorthak vessels activated their plasma cannons and missile systems. Energy readings spiked across their tactical displays as they prepared to demonstrate their overwhelming firepower advantage. Hythanol grinned with anticipation as he targeted the human ship's engine sections. 5 seconds. Morrison continued calmly. 4, 3, 2, 1. The human captain made a simple gesture to someone off-screen. Suddenly, the Liberty erupted in brilliant light as massive energy shields activated around its hull. The power levels required to generate such strong defensive fields should have been impossible for any human vessel. "Fire all weapons," Krexthor ordered. 6 Vorthak ships unleashed their combined firepower at the lone human vessel. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked through space in a coordinated barrage that should have reduced any target to glowing debris. The attack represented enough destructive force to level entire human cities. Every single shot was intercepted before reaching the Liberties. Hull. Krexthor watched in stunned disbelief as tiny points of light appeared around the human ship. Dozens of small turrets tracked incoming projectiles with impossible accuracy and destroyed them with precise energy bursts. The defensive system worked so efficiently that not one plasma bolt or missile managed to get through. "Impossible," Ethanol breathed. "Humans don't have point defense technology that advanced." The Liberty hung motionless in space, its shields glowing softly around an undamaged hull. Captain Morrison appeared on their communication screen again, and his expression had grown considerably less friendly. "War Chieftain, you've just made a very serious mistake," he said quietly. "I offered you the chance to leave peacefully. Instead, you chose to attack a vessel of the Terran Federation. That act of aggression has consequences." Krexthor felt the first stirrings of real fear. His entire fleet had just fired everything they had at this human ship and failed to cause any damage whatsoever. If humans possessed defensive technology this advanced, what kind of weapons might they be carrying? "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Fall back to maximum engagement range." But Morrison wasn't finished with his demonstration. "Lieutenant Commander Park, please show our visitors what happens when they attack human vessels in human space." The Liberty's weapon systems began powering up, and the energy readings made Krexthor's tactical officers start panicking. Deep inside the Liberty's engine room, Chief Engineer Ryan Carter watched the fusion antimatter hybrid reactor with careful attention. The massive chamber hummed with controlled power that would have terrified alien engineers if they could understand what they were seeing. Blue energy danced between containment fields while streams of data flowed across his monitoring screens. Reactor output holding steady at 60% capacity, Carter reported through his communication device. All systems operating within normal parameters. The reactor represented 15 years of secret human research. Scientists had studied every piece of alien technology they could find, from crashed ships to captured weapons. They learned how Council fusion systems worked, then spent years making them better. The result was a power source that could generate more energy than anything in the known galaxy. Carter smiled as he watched the energy levels. The aliens had no idea what humans were capable of when they put their minds to something. On the bridge, Science Officer Karen Hayes monitored her enhanced sensor arrays. The technology came from studying alien surveillance equipment found on Titan 3 years earlier. Human engineers had reverse-engineered the alien sensors, then improved them far beyond their original capabilities. "Captain," Hayes reported to Morrison, "I'm reading detailed information on all 6 enemy vessels. Their shield generators are operating at maximum power but showing stress fractures in the energy matrix. Their weapon systems are overheating from the sustained barrage they just fired at us." Morrison nodded as he studied the tactical display. The aliens had revealed their capabilities and shown their limitations. Now it was time to demonstrate what humans could do when they had decades to prepare for war. "Lieutenant Commander Park, activate the quantum torpedo launchers," Morrison ordered. Lisa Park's fingers moved across her weapon control station. The quantum torpedoes were humanity's answer to alien shield technology. Traditional weapons relied on kinetic force or energy discharge to damage targets. Quantum torpedoes worked differently by creating small tears in spacetime itself that bypassed conventional defensive systems entirely. "Torpedo tubes loaded and ready, Captain," Park reported, targeting the 2 nearest enemy vessels. War Chieftain Krexthor watched his tactical display with growing panic. His ships were trying to retreat, but their engines were struggling to build momentum after the strain of powering their weapons. The human vessel remained motionless as if it had unlimited power reserves and felt no need to maneuver defensively. "Sir," Yithnal called out desperately, "the human ship is powering up weapon systems I've never seen before. The energy patterns don't match anything in our database." Krexthor had spent 40 years fighting battles across the galaxy. He had faced pirates, rebels, and enemy fleets from a dozen different species. He had never encountered weapons that his computers couldn't identify. "What are they?" he demanded. "Unknown," Zaktul replied from his weapons station, "but they're drawing massive amounts of power from their reactor. Whatever these weapons do, they pack enough energy to crack a moon." The Liberty fired 2 quantum torpedoes that streaked through space like blue comets. Krexthor watched them approach his formation and ordered his ships to increase shield power. The torpedoes looked smaller than standard missiles, which gave him brief hope that they might not be as dangerous as their energy readings suggested. The first torpedo struck the shields of his port flank vessel and simply passed through them like they didn't exist. The weapon materialized inside the ship's hull and detonated with devastating force. The explosion tore through armor plating and destroyed 3 entire decks before the emergency systems could contain the damage. The second torpedo performed the same impossible trick on another ship. Both vessels were left drifting helplessly as their crews tried to repair catastrophic damage to their primary systems. "How did they penetrate our shields?" Yithnal asked in shock. Krexthor had no answer. Shield technology was one area where the Council had always maintained superiority over every other species. Their defensive systems could stop any known weapon in the galaxy. The idea that humans had developed something that could bypass shields completely changed everything about space combat. Back on the Liberty, Captain Morrison opened communications with the alien fleet again. His calm expression contrasted sharply with the panic he could see on alien faces across their viewing screens. "War Chieftain," Morrison said quietly, "you now have 4 operational ships remaining. I can disable all of them just as easily as I disabled the first 2. Or you can listen to what I have to say." Krexthor felt his warrior pride warring with his survival instincts. Retreating from a single human ship would be the greatest humiliation of his career. But continuing to fight against weapons that could penetrate shields might result in the destruction of his entire fleet. "What do you want, human?" he asked through gritted teeth. Morrison's expression remained neutral. "I want you to send a message to your superiors. Tell them that humanity is no longer the primitive species they remember. Tell them that we've been preparing for this day for decades. Tell them that any attempt to invade human space will be met with overwhelming force. Commander Zethkar, still monitoring the battle from his deep space station, couldn't believe what he was witnessing. A single human ship had just disabled 2 Council vessels with weapons that shouldn't exist. The tactical implications were staggering. "Sir," Velthara reported with a trembling voice, "I'm detecting more human ships approaching from the edge of the system." Zethkar felt his blood turn to ice. If there were more ships like the Liberty heading toward this battle, the situation was about to become even worse for the Council forces. "How many ships?" he asked. 3 additional vessels, all showing similar energy signatures to the first one, Velthara replied. "Estimated time to arrival is 20 minutes. The monitoring station's long-range sensors painted a picture of approaching doom for War Chieftain Krexthor's fleet. 4 human ships, each one apparently capable of devastating Council vessels, would soon converge on his position. The math was simple and terrifying. Back aboard the Liberty, Chief Engineer Carter reported that their systems were operating perfectly despite the demonstration of their advanced weapons. "Reactor efficiency remains optimal, Captain. We can maintain current power levels indefinitely." Morrison nodded as he watched the alien ships struggle to repair their damage. The demonstration had served its purpose. The aliens now understood that humans possessed technology that could match or exceed their own. More importantly, they were beginning to realize that humanity had been hiding its true capabilities for decades. The age of human subjugation was ending, and the age of human equality was about to begin. War Chieftain Krexthor stared at his tactical display as 3 more human ships appeared at the edge of the system. Each vessel showed the same impossible energy readings as the Liberty, which meant his damaged fleet now faced 4 ships that could destroy Council vessels with weapons that bypassed all known defensive systems. "Sir," Yithnal reported with barely controlled fear, "our damaged ships are requesting permission to retreat. Their repair systems cannot fix the damage caused by those strange torpedoes." Krexthor felt the weight of command pressing down on his shoulders. 2 of his 6 ships were crippled and defenseless. The remaining 4 were intact but had already proven unable to damage the human vessel. With 3 more enemy ships approaching, his tactical situation had become hopeless. But Vorthak warriors did not retreat from battle, even when facing impossible odds. "Signal the approaching human vessels," Krexthor ordered. "I challenge their commander to single combat. My flagship against one of their ships. If they win, my fleet withdraws. If I win, they leave human space forever." Captain Morrison received the challenge as the 3 additional Liberty-class battleships took their positions around the alien fleet. Captain Susan Mitchell commanded the USS Constitution, Captain Peter Brooks led the USS Defiance, and Captain Helen Gray controlled the USS Intrepid. Each ship represented years of secret construction in hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Park reported, "the alien commander is requesting single combat between his flagship and one of our vessels." Morrison studied the tactical display. The alien flagship was larger than the other Council ships and showed heavier armor plating around its vital systems. Its weapon arrays were more sophisticated, and its shield generators produced stronger defensive fields. Krexthor was clearly offering his best ship for this final confrontation. "Accepted," Morrison replied. "Signal the other ships to maintain their positions but not to interfere unless the aliens break the rules of engagement." Admiral Patricia Williams appeared on the communication screen from her command center deep beneath Luna. Her silver hair and determined expression had become familiar sights to human military personnel throughout the solar system over the past 5 years as humanity prepared for inevitable conflict with the Council. "Captain Morrison," she said formally, "you are authorized to demonstrate the full capabilities of the Liberty-class battleship. Show them what 50 years of preparation can accomplish." The communication channel expanded to include War Chieftain Krexthor and the alien monitoring station. Commander Zethkar watched nervously from his deep space facility as Admiral Williams addressed both human and alien forces. "For 5 decades, Williams began, your species has observed humanity with the intention of eventual conquest. You studied our ships, analyzed our weapons, and calculated our military strength. You concluded that humans pose no threat to Council supremacy." Krexthor's scaled face showed confusion. Council intelligence had indeed been monitoring human development for decades, but their assessments had always shown humans to be technologically inferior. You were wrong, Williams continued. Every observation you made was carefully managed. Every piece of technology you saw was deliberately chosen. Every military exercise you monitored was designed to hide our true capabilities. The implications of her words sent shockwaves through the alien crews. If humans had been deliberately concealing their technological advancement, then every strategic assessment of human military strength was completely worthless. Science Officer Karen Hayes activated a new display on the Liberty's main screen. The holographic image showed a detailed breakdown of human technological development over the past 50 years. Hidden research facilities, secret shipyards, advanced weapons programs, and breakthrough discoveries in physics and engineering. The fusion antimatter hybrid reactors powering our ships, Hayes explained, generate 7 times more energy than your best power sources. The quantum armor protecting our hulls can absorb energy equivalent to a small star. Our point defense systems track and destroy incoming projectiles with accuracy, rates exceeding 99%. War Chieftain Krexthor felt his confidence crumbling as he listened to the human explanations. If their claims were accurate, then Council ships were completely outclassed in every category that mattered for space combat. The quantum torpedoes you experienced, Hayes continued, create localized space-time distortions that allow them to bypass conventional shields entirely. Our main weapons generate focused antimatter beams capable of cutting through any known armor plating. Commander Zethkar transmitted an emergency signal to the Council home fleet, but he already knew it would take hours for reinforcements to arrive. By then, this confrontation would be over, and its outcome would reshape the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Captain Morrison ordered his ship to move into single combat position, facing Krexthor's flagship. The two vessels approached each other slowly, their crews preparing for a battle that would demonstrate the true extent of human technological achievement. War Chieftain, Morrison said through the communication channel, you have fought honorably, but you cannot win this battle. Your ships are outgunned, your technology is outdated, and your tactical situation is hopeless. Surrender now and your crews will be allowed to return home safely. Krexthor's warrior pride would not allow him to surrender without fighting. His flagship was the most advanced vessel in his fleet, equipped with the latest Council weapons and defensive systems. If any ship could challenge these impossible humans, it would be his. I am Vorthak, he replied with grim determination. We do not surrender. The alien flagship powered up its weapons and began firing at maximum range. Plasma cannons and missile launchers unleashed everything they had at the approaching Liberty. The barrage represented the concentrated firepower of the Council's most advanced military technology. Every shot was intercepted by the Liberty's point defense grid before reaching the ship's hull. Morrison watched the enemy weapons fire harmlessly into space around his vessel. The quantum armor hadn't even been tested yet, because none of the alien attacks had managed to penetrate the defensive screen surrounding his ship. Lieutenant Commander Park, he said calmly, activate the main antimatter beam. Single shot, minimum power setting. Park's hands moved across her weapon controls. The Liberty's primary weapon system began charging with energy that dwarfed anything the aliens had ever encountered. The focused antimatter beam represented the pinnacle of human weapons technology, capable of destroying entire ships with a single discharge. Antimatter beam ready, Captain, Park reported. Target locked on enemy flagship's main engine section. Morrison gave War Chieftain Krexthor one final opportunity. This is your last chance to surrender, War Chieftain. My next shot will disable your ship permanently. Krexthor's response was to order his remaining weapons to fire again. The gesture was brave but futile against technology that had evolved far beyond Council capabilities. Fire, Morrison ordered quietly. The antimatter beam lanced out from the Liberty and struck the alien flagship's shields with devastating force. The antimatter beam struck War Chieftain Krexthor's flagship with the force of a controlled star. The alien ship's shields flared brilliant white for 3 seconds before collapsing completely under the overwhelming energy discharge. The beam continued through the defensive barrier and carved a precise line through the vessel's main engine section. Krexthor felt his ship shudder as primary power failed throughout the hull. Emergency lighting activated across the bridge as backup systems struggled to maintain basic life support. His weapons officer reported that all primary systems were offline and beyond repair. Sir, Yithnal said quietly, we are dead in space. Main engines destroyed, weapons offline, shields gone. The human weapon cut through our strongest armor like it was paper. The war chieftain stared at the tactical display showing his crippled flagship. In 40 years of military service, he had never seen a single weapon discharge cause such devastating damage to a Council warship. The antimatter beam had been precisely controlled to disable rather than destroy, which demonstrated that the humans could have easily vaporized his entire ship if they had chosen to do so. Captain Morrison opened communications with the defeated alien commander. War Chieftain, your ship is disabled but your crew is alive. Honor has been satisfied on both sides. Will you accept the terms of single combat? Krexthor closed his eyes and felt the weight of total defeat settling on his shoulders. His fleet had been humiliated by a single human vessel using technology that shouldn't exist. 2 of his ships were crippled. His flagship was powerless and 3 more human warships waited nearby to finish what the Liberty had started. I accept defeat, he said with as much dignity as he could manage. My fleet will withdraw from this system immediately. But Captain Morrison wasn't finished with his demonstration of human capabilities. War Chieftain, before you leave, there's something else you need to understand about humanity's current situation. The communication channel expanded to include Admiral Williams and the other human ship commanders. Captain Mitchell's face appeared on screen from the Constitution, followed by Captain Brooks from the Defiance and Captain Gray from the Intrepid. What you see here represents only a small fraction of human military strength, Admiral Williams explained. The Liberty-class battleship is not unique. We have been mass-producing these vessels in secret shipyards throughout our solar system for the past 10 years. Commander Zethkar listened from his monitoring station with growing horror as the Admiral continued her explanation. If humans had been building advanced warships in secret for a decade, the strategic balance of the entire galaxy had already shifted without the Council realizing it. Hidden facilities on Europa, Ganymede, and Titan have constructed over 200 Liberty-class vessels, Williams revealed. Additional shipyards in the asteroid belt are producing support craft and supply ships. Every major human world is now defended by technology that surpasses Council capabilities. The numbers were staggering. 200 advanced warships represented more firepower than most Council member worlds possessed in their entire defense fleets. If humans had achieved such massive military buildup without detection, their intelligence and security capabilities were far more sophisticated than anyone had suspected. Science Officer Hayes activated another display showing the locations of human military installations throughout the solar system. Massive orbital fortresses surrounded Earth, Mars, and the major colonies. Hidden bases throughout the outer system provided strategic depth and manufacturing capabilities that could sustain long-term warfare against any enemy. The quantum torpedo launchers you experienced, Hayes explained, are standard equipment on all human warships. The antimatter beam weapons that disabled your flagship are considered basic armament for ships of the Liberty class. Our most advanced vessels carry weapons systems that we haven't needed to demonstrate today. War Chieftain Krexthor realized that his entire understanding of human military capacity had been wrong. The species he had considered primitive and helpless had actually become the most technologically advanced civilization in known space. The implications for Council security were catastrophic. Sir, his communication officer reported, I'm receiving priority messages from Council worlds throughout the sector. Word of this battle is spreading across all frequencies. The news was indeed traveling fast. Monitoring stations throughout the galaxy had detected the energy signatures from the battle and were reporting impossible readings to their superiors. Within hours, every Council world would know that humanity had achieved technological superiority over their best warships. Admiral Williams addressed the broader implications of the day's events. The Galactic Council has spent centuries maintaining order through military supremacy. That age is ending today. Humanity will not be conquered, enslaved, or intimidated. We offer partnership to those who approach us with respect, but we will defend ourselves against any who threaten our people. Captain Morrison received new orders through his secure communication system. Additional human fleets were moving into position throughout the border regions, ready to demonstrate their capabilities to any Council forces that might attempt retaliation. War Chieftain, Morrison said, you and your crews are free to leave this system. Return to your superiors and deliver our message. Tell them that humanity is ready to take its place as an equal member of the galactic community. Krexthor ordered his remaining ships to begin towing the damaged vessels toward the edge of the system. The withdrawal was humiliating, but it was also necessary. His fleet had been utterly defeated by superior technology and tactics, leaving him no choice but to retreat and report the disaster to his superiors. Commander Zethkar transmitted a final report to Council headquarters as the human ships took defensive positions around the system. His message contained detailed sensor readings, tactical analysis, and strategic recommendations that would reshape Council policy toward humanity. Priority alert to all Council forces, he transmitted. Human technological capabilities exceed all previous estimates. Recommend immediate suspension of all hostile activities toward human space, pending complete strategic reassessment. Human warships demonstrate decisive superiority over Council technology in all combat categories. As the alien ships limped away from the battlefield, Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty and watched the stars. 50 years of secret preparation had led to this moment, when humanity finally revealed its true strength to the galaxy. The species that had been marked for conquest had instead become the dominant military power in known space. The age of human subjugation was over. The age of human leadership had begun, and throughout the galaxy, alien civilizations were learning that underestimating humanity was the most dangerous mistake they could possibly make. The Liberty and her sister ships maintained their patrol positions as Earth's newest ambassadors, carrying a simple message to any who would listen. Humanity was no longer prey, and anyone who forgot that lesson would face the consequences of their mistake.